Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our Chapter 7 book study, the Rupert Spira book, Being Myself. My name is Bill Free, as most of you know, and thank you for joining with us. Very excited about this week's book study, and we have another new co-host that I was just getting to know in what we call the virtual green room, and it's Jenny Sheehan. And Jenny, thank you for being here. We're so grateful that you're part of this book study and that you said yes to Chapter 7.
This is Augusta. We tend to call her Gus, and she's just saying hello too.
Oh, good. Well, welcome,
Hi.
welcome, Gus. You just chime in whenever something speaks to you. Yeah, there it is. Gus is part of this book study today. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for being part of this. And if Gus does keep barking, just mute if you can during that time. And we're looking at Chapter 7, The Unveiling of Myself. And this is just another wonderful, rich content of Rupert's teaching. And for most of you, if you look at your email, you probably got a little PDF file for a revised schedule. We just changed the schedule based on Rupert's travel, and he won't be here February 9th. So week after next, he won't be here. And so that we keep all the chapters in and the co-hosts in the same order, we're going to spend that week, February 9th, looking at all of the questions and the great comments that were posted in the chat for the last 6 chapters. So, and including this one. And so we have about 4 pages of really great stuff. We won't look and read all of it, but Jenny Beal will be our co-host for that week, and we'll just have fun with your questions. And some of the questions, if they're for Rupert, we'll defer them for him. And otherwise, we'll just have a fun week after next, when Rupert was scheduled to be here, but he's been moved to March the 2nd. And March the 2nd will be a 2-hour book study. We're going to have the opening at 12 p.m. And we're going to have our book study for that week with Jiffy Reed. And then Rupert will show up at 1, and he'll answer questions and be with us for at least an hour. So that's the change up in the schedule. And thank you for taking the time to let me share that with you. And let's get started with Chapter 7. So Jenny, the unveiling of myself, tell me what would you like to share about the chapter, or just the opening page?
Right. It's almost, you can't just skip through anything. And just to start with the title of the paragraph, again, Rupert reminding us the unveiling. We're not have to pull it up out of the underwork. It's just veiled our remembering and knowing of our true self. And an analogy popped in my mind. Have you ever gone in your closet and found a pair of shoes that you totally forgot existed? And it's, oh my gosh, look, I forgot I had these shoes, and they were as good as gone because you totally forgot that they existed. And so I love that idea that that's the same. Our true self is within our mind now, and we're just kind of uncovering it. And it might be like layers of gauze off a zombie, but it also just might be a little dusting of, pretty little lace curtain that is there. So it's a very hopeful chapter.
Yeah. I like that. And that is it's that thin, so to speak, and yet it's often missed easily because because it's right here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
So the first paragraph reads, the sense of being myself is an opening in the mind through which we may pass on our return home from the adventure of experience. And there's two things that really jump out at me on that first paragraph. I love the subtle statement that says the sense of being myself. So we all have that sense that there's more. Even from a small child, I can remember at 11 years old going, is this all there is? Just, looking at the sky, 11 years old. And I'm saying, so there's that sense that we all carry that there must be more than this. And then the other thing, I love the statement, the adventure of experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That just sings
Right.
to me. I put a smile face in front of that one.
Yes. And the fact that if you're here reading this book now, you're returning home. You're on the way back from that adventure of experience. And that's really good news for us all. He also, Rupert, begins another analogy. We've had the movie and the screen, and we've had water and coffee or tea, but now he talks about looking at a watercolor or landscape. And go down to the third paragraph. Looking more closely at the painting, you notice that this is the only part of the paper where the artist hasn't applied any watercolor. From a distance, the bare patch of white looks like an object in the painting, a cloud, one object amongst many. But from up close, you see there's no paint there, only white paper. And this sense of being myself, or the knowledge I am, is the little patch of white paper in the painting of experience. And I love, he says that over and over. He lets us know there's two different ways: a sense of being myself, which we could say is, oh, me in a body, this little Jenny costume thing I seem to be doing, or a thought in the mind, this little thought I am. So either way, can't go wrong, but it's right now in this moment, what's happening is the portal through which we can focus on ourselves and not be caught up in the drama of experience. So
yeah, and that's it. It is the portal. It is the portal where we get to where we get to have a new experience in this bodysuit. We get to have a new experience in this bodysuit, and not be pulled by those by emotions. Not, I mean, it happens until it doesn't, because it doesn't. You just don't read this kind of content and go, okay, done, bam.
but it can. It doesn't. It seems rare, but it can.
Yeah, I don't know anyone yet. The thing I like about that, the idea of that, of the paper, the painting, and there's a place where it's not painted. It's kind of like when you start to read this kind of material, and you have glimpses of understanding, and it's like looking at the sky, and there's totally clouds, and there's this one little blue patch, and you see the blue patch, and it's mostly clouds, but that blue patch represents what's really going on behind the clouds. And this is very similar to that, because what's really going on behind the painting is myself, is our being, our essential nature. And that's going home. That's going home to that. And where that is where really the journey begins, is the understanding of our true nature, I think.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful analogy that you mentioned when you were 11 years old, but many of us have looked up at that sky and had a same sense of what is really going on here. So thanks for sharing that.
So there's comments on the board, and we'll look at the comments in about in 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you for putting your comments or questions there, everyone. And I have to tell you, we have some great questions that are carried over from those first 6 chapters so far. So I'm really looking forward to what we're going to share week after next. It's going to be great. So,
Awesome.
Jenny, did you find anything else on that page 63? Would you like to turn the page and see what's on 64?
Well, it's all important, but if we go to the bottom, just what we were talking about, when we are absorbed in the content of experience, when our focus is on the cloud or just on the painting, we seem to lose touch with our being and are thus deprived of its innate peace and joy. Our being becomes so entangled in experience that it overlooks or forgets itself. Our being no longer shines clearly as it is. And here's the message of what we are: open, unlimited, ever present, inherently peaceful, and unconditionally fulfilled. And unconditionally fulfilled is another words to describe joy that he just used.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm missing where that page is. Where is that you just read?
Oh, I was at the bottom of 64.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. I had flipped my page. I was at the bottom of 64 and at the top of 65.
Oh, good. Okay. So I was just wanting to follow along. So where does that start? Likewise?
Just the bottom of page 64. I apologize.
And it starts with likewise?
Yes. When we're absorbed in the content of experience, we seem to lose touch with our being and are thus deprived of our true being's peace and joy. Our being becomes so entangled in experience that it overlooks or forgets itself.
Yeah.
And
this is the human condition. This is what we do, and until we're someone like Rupert comes along and or A Course in Miracles and causes us to start to notice from stepping back, so like zooming away from it. Someone shared one time, just zooming out from the experience allows you to release yourself a little bit. And but we'll come off this call and half the people here will probably say it wasn't an hour and I was entangled in the experience, in the life experience, entangled in the objective experience. And sometimes it's sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's not awesome. And so this is spot on in everyone's experience. And this is a mechanism. This content of teaching is a mechanism that is here to help us, to support us, to stay established, as Rupert says, to stay established in the awareness of experience, and don't touch it. Don't touch the experience. At least keep it light. Yeah. What else do you see on page 64? Anything else there?
Well, just to cap what you said, the last sentence before the asterisk, all that is necessary is to allow being to outshine experience.
Yes. Yes.
It's there. We're just unveiling it.
Yes. Yes. And I like that the way that is expressed, because as as you become familiar with this experience of awareness or shining, it says experience eclipses being, so that veils it. All that is necessary is to allow being to outshine experience. So, and how do we do that? We don't touch it. We don't do anything. We just allow it. We allow it to be seen, and we look at we look at the feelings if they're uncomfortable or whatever they are. If we look at the thoughts, the ideas, the energy, a lot of time we first notice energy that is that says, what's that, and it causes us to notice closer. But I love the idea that we shine. What we are, myself, shines on experience, and if it's not touched, if we don't lean into it, it sort of just passes by. It sort of just melts, or at least if it's extremely something like a chronic sensation, it may take a while. When the attention comes off of it, guess what? It gets forgotten.
Yeah.
That's just so. I want to look back on page 64, the third paragraph down. Rupert says, our being pervades all experience, in the sentence just above that. But the third paragraph, he says, however, just as the paper is most visible when there is no watercolor covering it, so our essential being is most easily accessed, at first through the simple feeling of being myself, or the knowledge I am. The knowledge or the knowing I am. And that's why the I am mantra can be so powerful.
Right. He's telling us the how. How do we access this being? How do we shine throughout all experience? He's just reminding us there's two different ways. You can either start with a feeling that being myself, whatever body costume you're in, I'm being Jenny, or as Bill said, the knowing, the I am self is present. So it's pretty cool. He's starting to tell us how, and later in the chapter, he gets a little more detailed. So it's a good one. Anything else?
I just want to answer, see if, are we staticky to anyone besides Barbara? Barbara said that she's getting a lot of static. Is this okay? Okay, good. No, I think we moved to 65. There's some great comments we'll pick up in a few minutes on the chat. Thank you for engaging over there, everyone. And let's look at 65.
Yeah, I think we've really touched on all the paragraphs in our discussion, but to go to the last paragraph, this is why the sense of being myself remains ever present, even in our darkest experiences. For instance, even when we feel I am depressed, the I am is still shining there. And as Albert Camus said, in the depths of winter, I finally learned that within me there lie an invincible summer. And just think of it as the I am is a pilot light that never, ever, ever, ever goes out. We may say, where's the fire? Where's the fire? Where's the warmth? But the pilot light's there. And that's what it's just another analogy that we're all doing here. Even in our depths of despair, there's something that is longing, pulling us to know our true self.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
If we continue on 66 now, just as the white paper gives coherence, unity, To many different brushstrokes in the painting, so our being unifies the disparate elements of experience. If it were not for the unity of being pervading all experience, experience's self would be a chaos of fragmented thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. And here's the good news: the unity of being shines in everyone's mind. We all have it. It's not some people have it and some people don't. We all have it. And it makes sense. If we didn't have it, the world would really seem crazy and chaotic.
Oh my
And just
God.
the entropy that it is, thank God we have this anchor, this foundation. And even if we're not yet aware of it, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yep. It says in the last paragraph on this page, become aware of the experience of being myself or the knowledge I am. So if you're listening to these words, let's not just skip over it as a concept. Let's follow that sentence. Become aware of experience right now of being myself. And pause right there. This is becomes a new default. Simple. It only requires acknowledging and just a momentary pause of being myself as awareness, or the knowledge I am. I am, and that's like that's like a melting in. It's like a pointing that brings us to the first glimpse and understanding of these ideas as a direct experience, not as reading what Rupert says, but as we can all sense and know for ourselves.
Exactly. This would we would say this is the how. This is the practice. He's saying to access the innate peace and joy we are. How do I get there? He's saying there's two different ways, and it's to take this pause and realize that I am. And what's been helpful for me is I am aware that I seem to be experiencing this book study right now. Just start off with, instead of the flashlights pointing on you, realize I'm holding the flashlight. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
And you don't even have to believe it, or you don't even have to wait for anything. You just got to do it. And eventually it will show itself. This is the practice of a direct experience. So
yeah, and it's I've heard teachers, including Rupert and Francis, both say that we don't practice, but then they give it a concession and say, well, yeah, you kind of do practice. There's nothing to practice, but you kind of is.
Yes. And it's true, except when you're on the other side, it only sounds frustrating to be told that there's nothing you can do. It'll just happen of itself. This is a lovely, simple thing. It's just to simply, whenever you think of it, I am aware that I seem to be having this experience of driving my car. Yeah. Whatever it is, that resets it to who's really in charge of what's going on here now, any moment.
So if you're watching and listening and you're not really in touch with this idea that's being proposed by Rupert's pointing and by what we're saying, let me just say to you that my wife I was saying this for about 7 years. And she kept saying, Bill, get that awareness away from me. And when she got it, she got it. It was like a full, so be gentle on yourself and don't be in a hurry, because then the mind will use that to have your focus be on the objects of experience. So just be gentle on yourself. Just my recommendation to you, if it's not coming in, just stay with it, and it will reveal itself just like grace. So what else do you have on 67? And then we'll start looking at the board.
Gosh, just remember that that's the portal, the practice, and to go, he tells us 2 different ways. He gives us more details of practice at the bottom of 67. We could say there's 2 types of meditation, one in which we turn our attention away from the content of experience, and another in which we turn toward it. The first is an inward facing path, which discriminates between ourself and the objects of experience. It is a path of negation, exclusion, and elimination. The neti path. I'm not this. I am not that. I am not this book. I am not this body. Whatever words you want to use, until you get down to the point where you realize, oh, I just am. But there's a second path too, an outward facing path of openness, inclusion, and allowing. I am this. I am that. It is a path in which the apparent separation between ourselves and anyone else, anything, is dissolved. It is a path of unconditional love. And I almost think it kind of happens first. There's the inward facing path, and then the second outward facing path happens, but it's all good. It doesn't matter from which place you start, but listen to that, a path of unconditional love. And that's our true goal and purpose in all of this, because love is our true self that is unconditional peace and joy, the presence of God, which we skipped on the page before, but this is really what will pervade all experience.
Yeah. Nice. Really, really well said, Jenny. Thank you for that. And there was there's a paragraph, the 3rd paragraph down, that he speaks about being the 2 steps. He describes the 2 steps, step 1 and step 2. He talks about step 1 for a couple of paragraphs, then he moves to step 2. And before we go to the chat, I just want to look at the 3rd paragraph down on page 69, where he talks about step 2. The outward facing path is the means by which we recognize that our being is shared with everyone and everything. It is the remedy for conflict and the means by which kindness, harmony, and justice are restored to humanity. And that's just a resounding equality and no exclusions. And what happened with me with this outward facing path came from being at one of Rupert's 7-day retreats at Garrison. And when he came, he brings you through the meditations, in the morning sessions, and then in the afternoons are the Q&A. But coming out of, I guess, probably about day 3, coming out of a meditation, he brought us into the outward facing path. And he brings you from the awareness of experience and several hours of meditation to then open your eyes and include all of the objects of experience while you found yourself established as awareness, as the awareness of being, and then include all the objects of experience. And that is a visceral experience. That is a real direct experience of what oneness is, and what that idea of equality, or the harmony, where you become this identity that you find yourself as myself. It realizes itself as one with all the inanimate objects, as well as the awareness of the experience.
Absolutely. And it's beautiful, because what seems as a selfish journey I'm taking because I want inner peace is actually about world peace, because it goes outward and includes everyone and everything. And it becomes the most unselfish thing you can do.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing. And I know it's time to look at comments, but I just wanted to say that very next paragraph, Rupert makes a clarification, a caveat, we could say, to everything he's already said. Experience itself is not inherently problematic. It is only when we abstract ourselves as a separate, independently existing entity or self that a situation becomes a problem. So this is where we, in not judging something or bad as good, whatever experience we're seem to be happening, is exactly what it's supposed to be in that moment. And if we can pause, that separate self ego wants to judge and label it. If we just pause, as Bill said, regain presence, that I am, all experience is just fine, and we'll be okay through it all. It's not bad, no matter what we think it is. Even if something's like, well, this isn't spiritual, look at me searching for the next best Netflix to binge. It's like, no, it's just the experience I seem to be having, and it's not inherently problematic, whatever it is.
Yeah. It does take a gradual understanding to be established in these ideas. I would just say that. And going to the chat board, I love there's a lot of comments. We'll look at the questions. First question from Amy about A Course in Miracles speaks about dissociation. There are times when I'm going to myself, releasing all that I am not, and I begin to feel that I am dissociating from myself. Can we discuss the difference between finding the true self, which is letting go of all we are not, and dissociation? I would say that this question probably should be moved over to Sunday, where I do a Course in Miracles Q&A on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And to answer one part of the question that's relevant here is the true self is what we're speaking of, and what Rupert is speaking of. Rupert is speaking of being myself as the true self. And when our attention is focused on being myself, then all of these other activities of time and space, or of experience, all of those things are resolved as we're established as being myself. And that seems to be the way, that's just the way it works. It's that light that shines on all experience. It sort of dissolves the conflicts. It dissolves the duality. It dissolves the preferences and comparisons. And in its place, wisdom comes in in actually dealing with these experiences in a time and space bodysuit. It just works like magic.
And I said, is it this chapter or the next chapter? But Rupert addresses that a little bit, Amy. He said that sometimes there may be an experience which maybe you're using the word dissociated from, but that, just to what Bill said, it's very subtle, and it's our everyday normal sense of being that we're actually talking about uncovering here. So it may not be accompanied by, musics and songs and angels and visions and colors and, or an out of body experience, that it's actually the simplicity of being yourself now, here, this moment. That's what Rupert's going for.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick said early on at 12:13 that I love this comment. Fact, he says, our being awareness is the only anchor, continuity, and certainty. And I totally agree with that. It gives us a place that we can be established in, so that when the mind comes in and has all of these questions, commentaries, what about this? What about that? It's a place that we can be established in that is not disturbed by any of the questions. It's that place of inner peace. It's the thing that the Bible calls the peace that passes understanding. It's available right now, in this instant. Right now it's available. So anyway, let's see what else we have on the board. When it says becomes, Rana said, when it says becomes, could it be attached to? Not sure what you mean by that, Rana. Rick, the call from ourself to ourself, suffering, is also reiterated throughout the Bible in a variety of pointers, to include the parable of the prodigal son. Yep, Rupert uses that. I think he uses that here, doesn't he?
Yeah, page 70. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The word sin, or I would call that separation, the belief in separation, really means missing the mark. That's one term. I like to change the word sin to the belief that we're separate from ourself. You're going in the wrong direction, and the term repent means to turn around, right? Those Christian terms. I used to be a Christian, so I see that. Okay, so comment from Rick: there isn't a separate entity that must turn around and investigate our true nature to know peace. Rather, there is only the one essence itself, awareness, that elects to turn around and notice itself, and momentarily stops playing hide and seek with itself. That's cool. I like that statement. And then let's look at one more here at 12:22. Jenny, it says, I understand the spiritual words such as witness, being aware, awareness, being myself. However, I struggle with the word being, or I am. What is the metaphor for understanding being? What do you have for that, Jenny?
Yeah, what became helpful to me was study of English and any other language. Literally, the verb to be. I am, you are, we are, he is, she is. And so being is the noun of the verb to be. And if you think of what is that but existence, simple existence is what being is. It exists, I exist, you exist, period. And the truth is, it's the only thing we can really know. That's the anchor. I can in any moment only know that I exist. And it seems this pen exists too, but
Yeah.
that helped me.
That pen exists is a different, I call that local awareness, that's even naming the pen. So I think that's another
But
conversation.
Rupert calls it, he says the isness of things, the I am of being and the isness of things are the same, is the same.
Yes, I agree. But I agree, and I'll take the butt away because I agree. And before we have this understanding, we are entangled and involved, completely involved in the objects of experience. And we think that the body mind, personal self, is aware of the objects of experience because we don't know yet that awareness is the absolute I am presence. It's the essence of being that is the true awareness. Before it's a belief or before it's localized and given, there's an awareness that doesn't have a label. When awareness gives activity to the personal self, or gives when awareness moves or I guess inspires the mind of the personal self takes credit for then naming what awareness is aware of.
Right. I think it was last chapter. It's all a concession. We really can't even talk about what it is we're trying to, because existence just is. And Rupert says, the common term I is a reference to that. It's just a common day, every language. Whenever we say I, we're tapping into that root of our existence.
Yes.
Which just is.
Of being. And Jenny Beal said, Andrew, being means your essential reality. And as soon as, even Jenny Sheehan, even when we use the word, even I is putting something on what has no name or letter. Yeah.
That's why we need to sign. If we just. No,
yes. So let's move on and look at page 70.
Right. Here's the to get back in touch with suffering. I think Rick mentioned, suffering is the price we pay for forgetting on page 68. On the top of 70, having tried for most of our life to relieve our suffering through the acquisition of objects, substances, states of mind, activities, and relationships, we eventually come to understand that the belief in being a separate person is the sole cause of that suffering. And we have the lovely prodigal son analogy, where eventually turns to face his father as we begin to question the person we seem to be. We become profoundly interested in who we are. This is where we are, everybody. We're here now. It becomes clear that our suffering will not come to an end until this question is resolved. At some point, the interest in the nature of I eclipse all other interests. It's like falling in love with truth or reality. If we just continue a little bit further, I just wanted to give a shout out to Susan, who helped make it so clear to me in the last paragraph. Again, another analogy Rupert uses, just as nothing happens to John Smith, to our true self, to our innate being throughout the dreams of this body experience, of this world experience, of the Jenny experience, to the drama of King Lear, nothing happens to our essential being. Nothing happened to our essential being. And it doesn't become ignorant, and it doesn't have to become enlightened. We're just simply unveiling the false beliefs that have eclipsed it from our awareness of it in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate the way you emphasize that too, Jenny. Thank you for that. That was well stated and expressed. And just for some of you guys that don't know the background of Jenny, she's a physician. She's a scientist, and she has actually gone from being an anesthesiologist to actually prefer to learn and teach these ideas. So we're talking about someone who knows a little bit about the body mind system. So I just wanted to sort of give a shout out to your background, Jenny, so people would know that there's a little more there than just even though you're new to Rupert, there's some clarity in seeing the way the human experience and nature of the human idea of the body mind. So I want to mention that, and then there's a hand up. Connie has her hand up, and let's just ask Connie to unmute your mic. And what's your question, Connie?
My question is, as far as the I am and being a creator, as far, when we say I am, and I've kind of been taught that our words create and are very powerful, right? So when we get into this thing of I am sad, you actually in a quantum field kind of put that out and keep the vibration there. So I'm a little confused in that respect, because, all the prophets say we are magnificent creators of our reality, and how we express ourselves and what's going through our mind will create our reality. We will manifest what we intend. So does this,
This would be a better question on Sunday at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Because this is taking us away from the content of this chapter.
Okay.
It's moving us into another. So come back on Sunday at 3, and I'll be happy to answer that. And I'm sure there'll be others there that would be a part of that.
But the question does make sense, right?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay.
And that's why we have these things, so that questions can be answered. But we only have an hour. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Connie. All right. Jenny, okay, Sandra, you have your hand up. Please unmute your mic.
Hello, thank you for taking my question. There's something that's been on my mind for over 10 years, and I struggled with it. So I think it fits this chapter. I was having an experience of realizing who I am. I was waking up, and there's this voice that came into my head that said, I am. I didn't know what the I am was. I had never read the Bible or anything. It said, I am, and then it said more than you. And as I do all of this, I still struggle with what that meant. And I was wondering if you have any insight into that. I am more than you. I don't.
Well, first of all, I would just, you can't really, I love that I am came forth like Moses and said, I am. Moses is having this inner dialogue with I am, with his essential nature. And this essential nature is leading him to to a place he's not familiar with. And you have to take that communication that's occurring in the commentary it's going to be infused with the mind that of the seeming separate self that thinks that it's separate. So you can't trust that communication. You can trust I am. You can rest in the and until you're established in your understanding, and also the feeling that comes with the thoughts. They become more and more pure as you're more established in your understanding. You have the same sense that knows myself, the same sense that knows I am presence. It begins to reveal itself with a feeling experience that's, I would say, it's almost a vibratory,
Yes.
a vibration that feels true or feels pure. And I wouldn't take the commentary that the thing is giving you as, especially if it's like Rupert would say, when people would say, how do I know if this is ego or this is awareness, or I am intuiting, in whose behalf is this statement given? Or so you sort of get familiar with that. And I would say just relax as awareness and let thoughts, feelings, experiences, objects of experience, let them just pass by and stay established in the awareness of them, and that will bring you the inner peace that you're really seeking.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Jenny, where are we to wrap up this
Well,
week's chapter?
I did really want to point out in on page 71, I think someone commented on it. It might have been Rick, but I like to think of it in the middle of the page after the asterisks. Just as John Smith freely adopts the character of King Lear, so just as our true self freely adopts the character of whatever body costume we seem to be in order to experience the roles of husband, father, and king, so we freely assume the activities of thinking, feeling, sensing, and perceiving in order to participate in the drama of experience. And Connie, that made me think of what you were asking a little bit, the why. Why? Because love is free, because we have free will, because we can experience, and we freely experience that which we want to. As long as we want to experience something, we will. And it can be as simple as I can lay in bed in a puddle of tears until I decide I'm going to get up and take a shower. You know, that's not to minimize depression or anything. It's just showing that we are free to experience whatever it is that seems to be happening. And that might be the only reason, is because we can. And to finish, so having lost ourselves in experience and overlooked our innate peace and happiness, we embark on a search for them, the peace and happiness, in the world, without realizing that all we really long for is to be free of the limitations we have acquired from experience and return to our true nature. And this is the lovely analogy, Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, she had the shoes the whole time to take herself back home, just like Bill did. It was like a little caterpillar mustache. It's just right here. And, you know, let's all get off this call and set our timers for 2 minutes and just only say, I am, in our mind. And it will reveal itself.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
reveal itself.
Well said. Thank you, Jenny, for that intuition and for that and the way you expressed that to Connie. Thank you for that. And also, Jenny Beal said something to Connie, I think, on the chat board, so you can pick that up, Connie. And at the top of page 71, I love those two paragraphs, because they say to me that we're always awake. We're always awake. Rupert says to suggest that a person becomes enlightened is like suggesting that the sun rises in the morning. It is at best a concession to appearances, but more often a misunderstanding. The sun is always in the same place and shining with the same brightness. Likewise, our essential being never undergoes any change or evolution. It always shines with the same luminosity. It is simply concealed and revealed. That's like that's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he mentioned, I think, as early as chapter 1, there's no special practices, special locations, mantras, diets, books. It's nothing. What is the path to oneself if we're the self? So it's just peace of mind and good news. And I just want to, we are here now. We're demonstrating our willingness to know. And I'm echoing Bill's sentiment. Hang in there. It will be clear. There's no way it can't. It's desire to know is the drive, is the creative force and energy. And by simply participating in this, and even those that aren't here with us today, we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Judy, do you have a quick question? Can you unmute? Okay, there you go. I still can't hear you. I hear you a little bit.
Actually,
There you are.
okay. Actually, it's in response to Sandra's, what she said was that she heard the voice say, I am, and
Yes.
then I am more than you.
Yes.
Is that correct, Sandra?
Yes. Yes.
The first thing that came through me when she said that was that the I am was telling her, I am more than you, meaning you, the body. And that was the first thing that I felt.
Yeah. 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 I saw that too. I did see that too. I just, as that, I am is to be established there. And I agree. I am more than you. However, does I am say that? Say I am more than you? I mean, that's like a comparison. And I don't know if that's not.
In a way, but the thing is saying I am more than you as the body for the realization that I am.
Yeah. 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 That could be true.
Which is what we all have to realize, is that we are the I am and not the body.
Yes. Yes. That could be true. Thank you, Judy, for that comment. And we're going to wrap this up, everyone. And Jenny, we have page 72 to look at. Is there something that you would like to say about that before we close?
It's just the chapter ends on a high note that we will establish ourselves in this place and will no longer visit our true self from time to time. We live there. And we will be able, the second to last paragraph, participate fully in experience without allowing it to veil our true nature and its innate joy. And Lao-Tzu said it perfectly, last paragraph. Thus, one who knows their true nature never loses touch with its innate peace, however far they may travel and whatever they may do.
Yes. Yes, the sun is always shining, always right there.
Yes.
And we are that. All right. Well,
Totally.
we're at the end of our time together. Everyone, thank you for joining with us. Next week, we will have Jenny Beal will be with us, and we'll be looking at chapter 8, The Joy of Being. And looking forward to Jenny sharing that chapter with us. And we'll see you all next week. Have an awesome week. Thank you, Jenny. Jane,
Thanks,
you were awesome.
everybody.
All
I
right.
enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Very, very much.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.